It's the deadliest earthquake to hit Morocco in more than 60 years and the strongest quake in that country in more than a century. More than 2,800 people have been killed and another 2,500 have been injured. Rescue workers have been searching the rubble for 3 days now, and for some, the hope that their loved ones will be found is starting to dwindle. The first terrifying moments caught on camera in the city of Marrakesh. People out enjoying their Friday night raced out of restaurants and stood stunned on the streets. They walked around pieces of rubble that had fallen from buildings above. The magnitude 6.8 quake struck around 11 p.m. local time in the high Atlas Mountains south of Marrakesh, leaving remote villages near the epicenter heavily damaged, flattening the wood and dirt homes, killing and injuring thousands.
Yesterday we like yesterday we ate our dinner, and 5 seconds it's happening.
Then you realize you don't know which wall is gonna fall down, suddenly stop. Then you just know you have to go out from the door to save life or save yourself. It was a shocking experience.
The UN is estimating 300,000 people were impacted by the quake, the situation made worse by the remoteness of some of the villages. This man in the village of Tagadert near the epicenter says he used his bare hands to dig out his neighbors and loved ones. He says many were screaming for help as they were dying. 68 of the 400 people in this village did not survive the quake. This man says his 7-year-old brother was killed while he slept in his bed, the ceiling of his bedroom falling on top of him. Many of the homes in the village are pulverized. Families burying the dead becoming horribly routine in this region, others still looking for the bodies of their loved ones.
I'm here just because I have lost 2 of my best things that I have in this life. My parents, my father and my mother, I have lost them here.
Aid is getting in slowly, but the remoteness of the area isn't helping. That remoteness, along with the heavy rubble on steep mountain roads, have hampered the ability of rescuers to get heavy equipment into the area. Morocco has accepted aid from Spain, Qatar, the UK, and the UAE, as well as many not-for-profit humanitarian organizations. The UN is ready to assist as well.
We are monitoring the situation. It's obvious that there's a large number of people who are having to sleep outside, out of doors, given the weakness of different structures. There's people who clearly will need food, water, and other humanitarian support in the days ahead.
For more on this, I'm joined by earthquake expert Katsu Goda from Western University. Katsu, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
The scenes are devastating. How powerful was this earthquake?
Well, by magnitude, it was a magnitude 6.8 event. So when we compare to, say, 2023 Turkey-Syria earthquake happening in February, that was magnitude 7.8. So in terms of released energy by this earthquake is 1/30, 30 times less compared to the Turkey earthquake. But still, it is moderate earthquake, and then the building were relatively weak in the region, so that made this event very catastrophically disastrous.
I understand this quake struck at relatively shallow depth, and that actually made it more dangerous?
Of course. So the epicenter, hypocenter, was about reported to be about 26 kilometers. So globally standard speaking, it is relatively shallow. And then if if it's shallow, then the distance to the city or the people or the buildings are relatively close. If the distance is close, then the less energy is kind of attenuated, damped. So therefore, the more energy reaches the people, buildings, city. So that leads to the higher, more damage in the city.
What are some of the challenges facing rescuers?
Yes, so the epicenter or the hypocenter, where the center of the earthquake started, is a relatively remote area. But the majority, as long as I know, the majority of the damage happened in the city, Marrakesh, which is a historical downtown core. So in those areas, relatively difficult to get access to those collapsed buildings because the streets are relatively narrow and a lot of rubble. So the rescue team could not get to the people who are underneath those rubbles.
Does this part of Morocco have a history of strong quakes?
I checked several kind of resources quickly, and I didn't find a major earthquake activity in the region. It's relatively far from the plate boundary between in the Mediterranean area. So it's far from those plate boundary. That means that the relatively infrequent seismic activity.
Given the extreme damage to some of the buildings, do you think Morocco will need to utilize more earthquake-proof building techniques?
I think a lot of things needs to be done from a building science point of view. So the seismic design has to be implemented properly. And in a material-wise, I think that the masonry are available in the region. So that's a kind of a good resources materials to use. But we can definitely reinforce those materials such that the building kind of behaves as a kind of box so that it doesn't rubble to the ground.
That's Katsu Goda from Western University. Katsu, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.